love. It is the season of love, sort of. It's not Valentine's Day, but it's Christmas. And it's that time of year when we feel a little more charitable to each other and we try to love each other a little bit more. It is apparently that time of year, according to the songs, when brothers and sisters are kind to each other and they hug. And we give more money to people because we feel like they should have a good Christmas. And I'm not saying that any of that is wrong. I think it would be great if humanity could actually act like it's Christmas all year round, where we actually care about each other. I think that our feelings become a little bit more genuine around Christmas. There's just the festivities, and we just want people to, have a good time. We realize that there's a lot of suffering in life and in the world, and we kind of want to alleviate some of that suffering, right? And so something prompted me the other day to think about love. I think it was the fact that my kids kept bickering and I kept telling them to stop. And I was reflecting on how we just didn't really seem to have a house full of love right now. My kids are tired. They go to school all the time. They need a break. I'm tired. I'm running around organizing things. And we just sort of seem to be nitpicking each other instead of hugging each other. So I decided to look up love in the Bible. And I know we've heard this verse so many times. If you've grown up in the church, 1 Corinthians 13 is something that you've probably heard at least 5, 10, maybe 15 times in your life. If you haven't grown up in the church and you are new to a life of Christianity or new to Jesus or just sort of checking out this channel to see what it is, maybe you've never heard this before. Now, I think that part of the problem with quote-unquote religion or church or whatever is that we hear these things and we don't let them sink in. And so as much as I have read these verses that I'm about to read, I know them, but I didn't really put them into practice. They sort of go in one ear and out the other. It's like, yeah, I know I should do that, but whatever. Life goes on, right? So I am actually going to read through the Message version because I just really like how it's translated. It's kind of a modern translation, but I encourage you to look it up in whatever translation that you prefer. So it's 1 Corinthians 13. And it says, "If I speak with human eloquence and angelic ecstasy, but don't have love, I'm nothing but the creaking of a rusty gate. If I speak God's word with power, revealing all his mysteries and making everything plain as day, and if I have faith that says to this mountain, jump, and it jumps, but I don't have love, I'm nothing. If I give everything I own to the poor, and even go to the stake to be burned as a martyr, but I don't have love, I've gotten nowhere. So no matter what I say, what I believe, and what I do, I'm bankrupt without love." So I think that this is something that people know in their hearts. We know what love should be. It doesn't matter that society has sort of misconstrued it into a jumble of feelings or butterflies in our stomach or, love meaning let your kids rule the household or, there's all these little pockets of society that have sort of put their own definition on love, and it's made this jumbled mess of what it is. And we, even as Christians, have sort of put it all together, and instead of going to the Word, the Bible, to find out what love is, we just sort of mesh it between what we think it is, what other people think it is, and then what all the different pockets of society and groups have decided that love is. And it's a mess, right? It's a mess. I think that these verses I can probably name some people who are like this. We have seen powerful preachers, or what looks to be powerful from the outside, fall and crumble. Could it be because they're speaking without love, that they're living without love? We have seen people give to the poor and spend their lives, sacrificing for other people, and yet really be hardened or have nothing to show for. We've seen people rise to the top and commit suicide. Society, through the ages, and even in the last decade, we've seen a lot of this. We know in our hearts what love is, or at least we know what it is not. And so we know when somebody's being hypocritical. We know when somebody is saying to do this or that, but they don't have love, and it just gives you that feeling of something's not right. So let me continue reading. If we know what love is not, and love is not giving to the poor and telling them to go make sure that they don't buy drugs with it, or telling other people how to build their own house and how to do this and how to be a better person, and clearly not from a loving point of view. People know that. We know that. We know what's behind those words. We know the feeling behind them. And we also know that love is not necessarily just feelings. How can you fall in love and then out of love and then back into love? And how can you explain to your kids that I don't fall into love with you or out of love, I just love you all the time? But let's face it, not everybody loves their kids. It's not an automatic thing. At least that's not what I believe. I don't think that you just automatically love people. I think that it is something that you work towards, that you are diligent about. And this is why. Going on, it says, love never gives up. Love cares more for others than for self. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. Love doesn't strut, doesn't have a swelled head, doesn't force itself on others, isn't always me first, doesn't fly off the handle, doesn't keep score of the sins of others, doesn't revel when others grovel, takes pleasure in the flowering of truth. Love puts up with anything. Love trusts God always. Love always looks for the best. Never looks back, but keeps going to the end. Love never dies. Inspired speech will be over someday. Praying in tongues will end. Understanding will reach its limit. We know only a portion of the truth, and what we say about God is always incomplete. But when the complete arrives, being God, our incompletes will be canceled. Love never gives up. Love cares more for others than for self. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. Love doesn't strut. It doesn't have a swelled head. It doesn't force itself on others. Isn't always me first. Love doesn't fly off the handle. Doesn't keep score of the sins of others. Doesn't revel when others grovel. Takes pleasure in the flowering of truth. It puts up with anything. Love trusts God always. Always looks for the best. Never looks back, but keeps going to the end. I would have to admit that according to 1 Corinthians 13, I don't love very well. I would also have to say that I don't know many people who do. Because I think that instead of coming here to the Word, to God's will for us, to what perfect love is, we try to make up our own definitions. I can probably point out a person in my past for every single thing that love is not. And I'm sure that people could look into my past, or possibly even closer past, and point out exactly when I was not loving according to these verses. This is not an easy list to keep up. This is what love is? That is amazing. Show me somebody who was like that, and my mind would be blown. But Jesus was like that. He loved. Now, it doesn't mean that you let people walk all over you. It doesn't mean that you don't stand up for yourself. It doesn't mean that you don't have things to fulfill, to do, goals to accomplish in your life. It doesn't mean that you step back and let everyone else do everything and you just get out of everyone's way. It doesn't mean that. Love never gives up. You never give up on what you are called to do. But love cares more for others than for self. So you are more concerned about what others are doing, how they are accomplishing their goals while you're doing your own. You are concerned about kids not eating. You're making sure that you're doing your part to keep people healthy and well and encouraged. And why do you do that? Because you know that God is taking care of you. Love isn't jealous. It doesn't want what it doesn't have. Doesn't strut around thinking it's better than everyone else. Doesn't have a swelled head, being prideful. Doesn't force itself on others. I've read other translations that says it doesn't force its opinion on others, which is definitely something we all need to do these days, right? I would say love listens more than it forces its opinion. Can you love someone if you're not willing to listen to them? That is something that I have really studied and pondered this year. If I'm not listening to someone, I can't really say that I'm loving them well, can I? Loving somebody is listening to them, because listening to them validates them. It validates their opinions. It validates their existence and the time that they have spent thinking about something. I need to give people the validation of just simply listening. It doesn't mean that those ideas will be absorbed immediately into me. I might not ever agree with them, but I could give them the dignity of listening to them. That was not an easy lesson to learn on my part, let me tell you. Because listening is not just the people who are around you, because a lot of times we're around people who agree with us. But listening is also, for me, learning to listen on social media, not reacting right away, but listening, giving people time to explain themselves, which would go into not reveling when others grovel, not reveling in people falling, not reveling in people messing up, not reveling in, people being taken down by another tweet. It doesn't fly off the handle, as many of us do on Twitter, and as I used to and try not to anymore. It doesn't keep score of the sins of others. So love forgives, and then it forgets. And I think that sometimes we don't want to do that because we don't think it's justified. But I believe that if you trust God and you are loving well in the way that He tells you, that you can also be praying at the same time for justice if justice is needed. But in the midst of it, you can know that you have forgiven and you have forgotten. And when somebody comes back with forgiveness, and this is especially, with friends and family who have hurt us and wronged us, that we bless them with our forgiveness and we let it go. And we don't bring it up and throw it in their face at the next argument. So, love would always put trust in God, which I think is pretty much the basis for being able to do any of this. Love looks for the best. And I've written about this on my blog, but we have fallen so far away from thinking the best of others. We are so quick to think that we have the best intentions, but others have the worst intentions. And we see this on social media. We see this between friends and family. We see this on the news, on interviews. We always think that somebody else has the worst intentions behind their remarks or their ideas or their actions, and that we have the best. And I think love is the opposite of that. Not thinking that we have the worst intentions, but giving grace to think that the other person has good intentions as well. Love never looks back, but keeps going to the end. And this is where my mind has changed a little bit about love. I used to think when people would say God is love and Jesus is love and they're so loving, it kind of got this milquetoast idea to it. Just this sort of, this is an odd picture, but this soggy, sort of flimsy, whoa, okay, they love everyone, you know. I have changed my mind now because love that keeps going to the end means love is a fighter. Love is a warrior. Love is a mother fighting for their son or daughter to get help for their addiction. Love is a spouse fighting for their marriage to survive. Love is a soldier throwing himself or herself on a grenade to save others. Love really is a warrior, and a person who can love well is a warrior, someone who will not give up, who will push forth. You have to be strong to love well. You cannot be wishy-washy. This list is not for the meek. This list is for a warrior who is ready and willing to go out and fight some battles well. Love is not some mushy words or emotional movie scene. Love is something that is forever. And the one person that I know who has loved well, loved me well, and loved you well, and has loved every single person on this planet well is God. And I know, and He knows, and you know that we cannot be perfect here on earth. But I also know that He wouldn't put this list in His Word if we couldn't really strive towards it. And so I challenge you in this Christmas season to not just allow the word love to sort of float around and be this nebulous, sort of foggy thing, emotional, sappy, all these sort of, let's say, Hallmark movie-ish type thing. Love is a soldier, a hardened Roman soldier, ready and willing to fight through life for others, for himself, for his beliefs or her beliefs. Love is something that is strong. And if you love well, you too are strong. And so I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas, a very Happy New Year. I hope that you can love well this season, that you will never give up, not on your family, not on your friends, not on yourself. Love other people well, love yourself well, and never give up on your God. Love Him well as well. Merry Christmas. Bye.